Kristian Manietta. Is that right?
You got it.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for coming on my show, man. I really appreciate it. We kind of have a bit of a history just through Lululemon there a couple years ago. We talked about it earlier just before we hit record here about your time in Whistler, how long you've been here for. But I thought you'd been here for a long time. But we used to run these stretch classes in Fort Lease. A store used to be a place in town that the Lululemon ran. And you'd come in and you had, did you do like a rolling session or something?
Yeah, so foam rolling, trigger pointing.
Right. And is that like a background? Are you like a physiotherapist, chiropractor, or something
No,
like that?
No, I just like to know a lot of stuff. And
right, okay.
before we moved here in Australia, so, we can get into a bit of my background soon, but just basically lots of injuries as I got into endurance sports, and a specific set of tools helped me overcome these injuries. And I actually came over to Canada to race Ironman Canada when it was in Penticton back in 2006. And I met the owner. They had a little expo booth there before this company went into millions and millions of dollars worth, but they were only small back then. I'm like, you know what, this has done so much for me. Mm-hmm. I have no idea on distribution, anything like that. Yeah. But I know the product. Right. I believe in the product. Can we try and sell it in Australia? Cool. So they were like...
So you took it back to Australia with you?
I already had it. Oh, okay. So I paid, I saw it in a magazine, and it cost me a fortune to ship it out to Australia when I first got it. I'm at wit's end. I've used a lot of physios and others to fix certain, and it wasn't working. And got this thing and just was dedicated with it, and stuff cleared up. And
it's just a typical foam.
The foam roller has been around forever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But this original kit, it's kind of has rollerblade wheels, and it has special material. So it's firm, but it's not too firm. Right. So there was a few pieces in the kit. There was one that you use for your quads called a quad baller. Right. There was this little calf roller as well that you use a yoga block for, and then a couple of boards. So they had this and also some education behind it. So it wasn't just rolling willy-nilly. It was like, hey, here's this ultimate 6 for performance. So you can look at 6 areas of the body and roll through it specifically to get the greatest buck, basically. And it works. And so, basically we did a handshake deal. Yeah. I ordered and air freighted a bunch of kits and got a little booth at Ironman Australia, and they were like, I don't know how, got the little IKEA shelf. Right. And it wasn't much. It was a pretty sparse, good startup. And, it sold out of all the kits. Oh, wow. They were like, wow. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I know the stuff and help people. It was great. And then we grew that to the thing where I ended up getting software developed so we could have people buy from the website. It went from a shelf in the a spare room to the garage. Right. From the garage going, we can't do this stuff, from, air freight to sea freight shipments to getting a fulfillment company to do everything, write software so someone could buy off. So it ended up pretty big. And then, I was coaching at the same time. And some things happened, and I was more towards the coaching pathway. Sure. They wanted to get more into the gym space, and some things happened, and I just decided to, walk away from something that was really good. Right. But and then it was here. Just coming into Fort Lease was like, hey, let's offer this because
that was cool. I didn't really go. I didn't really go to those sessions too much. But we'll just step back a second. So I kind of jumped ahead, but your background, you've been an endurance athlete for a long time, and so when you were in Australia before you came here, you said you came to Canada to run the Ironman in Penticton. Have you been training? What's your did you go to school for something, or were you what got you going in it?
Back further than
maybe go back maybe 12 years and
even longer. I think the first time I came here was 94.
Oh, okay, so early on.
Yeah, and I was finishing school and I'd seen snowboarding for the first time. I played rugby league in Australia. That was my sport and what I really wanted to do. And some politics there that I got pissed off at, and got out skating and surfing and saw snowboarding. I think it was a Quicksilver movie, a surf movie, and then they showed snowboarding. And me and my stepbrother were like, oh my God, we got to do that. Yeah. That looks amazing. And, we went down and down to the Australian ski resorts and did it. And it was like, I'm never missing a year of this ever.
Yeah, that's good.
And then this shop in Sydney was doing a 2-week trip to Whistler. I think I was 17, and I'm like, working at McDonald's and saved up my pennies. And
you worked at McDonald's? Cool. Nice.
And got over here and didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
Spent 2 weeks here. I was the youngest in that group that went. I think the next youngest person was 32 and I was 17.
Oh, wow.
So I remember walking into Showcase, old Showcase.
Yeah, for sure. The OG,
and when we had our licenses that were like go-kart licenses, so they were the laminated ones. So we're there with the shopkeeper with the X-Acto knife, removing numbers so we could get my age to 19 and then re-laminate it so we go in the Longhorn.
That's pretty good, man. The Longhorn's been bumping for so long.
Could do that and get to the boot. It was
good. You can't now ID. I mean, I don't know how kids do it now. You can't fake your ID anymore.
No,
it's like that's just bulletproof. Yeah. Oh well, that's a long time ago then, because like, it's cool that you can the influence from that you can get drawn to here from like a video or something like that. And so then you came here, and then I mean, you must have gone back for a while.
Yeah, I went back and then came back. Got my buddies and like we have to go for a season next year. So came back for a season. I came up here. And same old story, no accommodation. So we're talking 95, no accommodation, really limited work.
Yeah.
And only 2 of us had work visas and the other 2 didn't. So I came early and then there was nothing there. I bought a Volkswagen combi van in front of the Southside Diner. Yes. And that thing was rad. And drove down to Vancouver. I met through the snowboard shop owner in Australia. I met the owner of Pacific Border on West 4th and Burrard. And then I went down there to see if he was there and chat with him, like, what am I going to do before my other friends come? And he wasn't there that day, and kind of befriended a shop person there and, have the gift of the gab. And he's like, come back to my place, and, stayed there for a week or so until my other buddy flew in. Then we're like, what are we going to do? We went to Banff.
Oh, really?
And long story short, we spent a season there, but that's where I met my wife.
Oh, really? Because I would guess Banff was probably a bit more busy then, because it's more of a tourist attraction. It had more like, even though skiing here was awesome, but Banff was like probably tour buses still back then, right? So more like long-term employment maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I remember probably still the coldest night I ever had driving out there.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I remember, because in Australia you got to drive with snow chains. There's no snow tires and whatever. You always got to have snow chains when you go to those resorts. And here we're like Volkswagen combi, skinny tires. I don't even remember if they were winter tires or not. Just brought this thing.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
I think we didn't even get to, like, it was well before Hope, and I'm like driving through this snowstorm and 2 foot of snow, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to die. Yeah. But we got to Golden and slept in there, and every bit of, cooked some 2-minute noodles. Can't believe like what I know now. We didn't actually kill ourselves.
You probably propane filling up the
monoxide or whatever, and we had everything on there, and
safety third back then.
Yeah, and then just found a place to rent, and other buddies came, and cool. That was it, and that started the love affair with the back and forth trips for a whole bunch of years.
Oh, so you kept going back and forth, I guess,
Yeah, I ended up, doing okay in snowboarding and getting sponsored and stuff like that.
Cool.
And that was my life until 2002.
Oh, sick. I didn't know
Then
that.
I fell into endurance sports.
Yeah, okay. So. It's a bit of a different jump. I mean, most guys are in skiing and snowboarding, they kind of stand, or they do something different, or they go in but that endurance thing.
It was baggy clothes to Lycra. It's
that's a huge
crazy
step.
Change.
Right. Because and then if those guys in the baggy clothes saw you in Lycra, they'd make fun of you probably.
Yeah.
You didn't care. Because I remember I remember when I started skiing, I turned to snowboarding, probably mid-90s, and it was all just, giant pants and giant jackets stuff and skateboarding. But so endurance sports must have been pretty, like they weren't even, they're popular now for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is 25 years ago, I guess. You're still, it's pretty fresh. It must have been kind of like a very unique thing for someone to do back then. And I don't know.
It was really interesting. We went into, so kind of finished snowboarding in 2002. Towards the end of that, we got into, my wife wanted to run a marathon.
Okay.
And partner back then, and we're looking for that, and she's like, all these groups are old folks. I don't want to go run with old folks. Right, and we're well older than what we're considering old folks.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
now.
For sure.
And
we are the old folks.
And I am the old folk now. And triathlon kept popping up.
Right.
And we're like, oh, this looks good. And me being me, I'm like, oh, there's a series. Let's do the whole series. And sold a bunch of snowboard gear, and we kind of fell into that. The group we started with was all geared towards Ironman.
Okay.
So it was very quick. Hey, we're only going to do a sprint distance, and then in that first few months we did a half Ironman, and then within I think it was 6 months we did our first Ironman. So I went from 0 to that.
Yeah.
A lot of ego and a 25-year-old.
It's kind of how you start, right?
Made a lot of mistakes and got injuries where my wife just crushed everyone and qualified for Hawaii.
Oh, wow. That's the big one, right? That's the big, okay.
And she ended up actually, she started the sport at 29, but she ended up going pro and winning a couple of these races.
No shit.
Ironmans outright.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Fast, so,
great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so
changed our life.
Yeah, I bet, right? And then over the years, I mean, I think kind of went 0 to hero pretty fast. But I guess the thing is, over the time, you've been doing it for a long time now, you're going to learn different ways of training, how to be more sustainable, how to like get those injuries, like how to train to avoid injury. And but running too is one of the things where you get better at when you get older because you learn your brain gets into it and you learn to be on your feet. It's not what I thought was, it's not always about your endurance, it's about just keeping your mind able to stay on your feet that long. There's got to be a balance of like...
The mental side is the biggest part.
Yeah.
And that takes some learning and time, but, it definitely took some... Yeah, there's a lot of patience in this game too, and earlier on I had not much patience for a lot of the stuff, and that showed.
And I guess you could, because you have a good day and a bad day, you don't know why your bad day was there. You're like, oh, you get up, you go for a run, like, why did it feel so shitty today? And then you get the next one, like, oh, I felt great today. Try to keep track of how that came to be. It must be like...
Yeah, we call that now, and a lot of people don't understand, but it's ebbs and flows, right?
Sure.
There's never, everyone thinks that they do this training or whatever, and there should be this linear improvement.
Yeah.
And it's never linear, right?
Yeah, no.
It's up, down, around, and the mental component. You can read all the books in the world about mental strength, and you can only make the only way you can do it is in the moment and choosing. It's kind of interesting, like people want to, and it doesn't have to be endurance sports, like ski touring,
sure,
snowboard touring, or splitboarding, whatever. I ski more than I snowboard these days, but there's a level of fitness required for that, and there's a big level of mental side that you need, especially to play safe in this environment, and even mountain biking, whatever. There's all this stuff that you need. It's kind of like I call prerequisites.
Sure, yeah.
That help, and you can't go and read a book and then know it. You gotta get into it and be like, hey, I make a decision to embrace that. But what I'm gonna say is, everyone want to test themselves. Why do people do marathons, or why do people do Ironman, or why do people go on these? I'm going to do spearhead in a day. It's because you want to challenge yourself. Sure. But then people want to challenge themselves to see what they're made of, but then they're hoping for the best day ever. Without the weather,
without struggle or anything.
The weather might be crappy. It sucks and blah blah blah. And you're like, well, you're not really testing yourself now. Hey, attitude is a huge thing. Yeah. And but that's all from experience now. And back in my snowboard days when I'd do back-to-back winters, it wasn't always going to be this, never thought I'd fall into what I did now. I was just always interested. So, I would, make money I thought I was going to become a builder. Okay. And I went down that pathway in back-to-back in between the seasons. And then I was just looking at, my boss going, he never sees his family. I don't necessarily, it would have been good now in today's climate, definitely. But back then, and then I got into, did personal training and strength and conditioning certifications. And then we got into triathlon. I never wanted to be a coach. I just wanted to understand more, see the mechanics, and then understand, putting stuff together, and one thing led to another.
So because obviously becoming a trainer and a coach, it's going to help your own game because you're going to teach someone else or help guide someone, which will help you learn your own skills better and get deeper at it. But do you have do you have formal training? Did you go to the kinesiology or something? Do you have
I went. So I did all the, for coaching under triathlon, I did those certifications. Okay.
Is that like a mental and physical type training? Like they teach you how to
most of it's just the theory.
Okay, right.
You can learn so much in textbooks and then write programs, and there's programming and breaking the year up into cycles and stuff like that, and what are you going to look at? And you learn a lot from doing it and playing around. But, what I've learned the most from is people don't perform in a textbook manner.
Yeah, no.
And life circumstances is a huge thing. So when you're dealing with I've coached elite athletes and, professionals and, coached my wife for a time and coached some pretty good athletes and world champions and stuff like that. But mostly, like, I'd rather just train, age group athletes that work full time, have families, do all that. And it's teaching them that life circumstances matter.
Right.
It's not about, because you can't have this perfect plan when you've got 2 kids and you got a corporate job or you got this or whatever. You got to make this, communication's key and make a plan that works and still get the successes. And sometimes, goal attainment takes longer.
Yeah, right.
Right. And that's okay. But what you learn in this game is that it's patience.
Yeah.
And, but that's evolved over my 17 years of doing this.
17 years. Yeah. So do you think like people are trying to cram too much in? Like they have a full-time job, they have kids, they're like, hey, I still want to be a competitive athlete. Do you think there's like the time it takes to learn, even just learn your body and learn your own movements and how to recover and stuff? You think that people try to cram too much in? Like
I think people definitely rush it.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Well, we're sold now because, especially today, right now, because we've gone through this. We've gone through this phase of virtual, and so there's virtual racing for everything, and with that, and even prior to that, there's a lot of focus on high intensity interval training. So everything, people have this belief that they can only improve if they go hard.
Right. Okay.
And it's the complete opposite to that. You can get fast by going slow, and it's way better for the body. Right. So people, what it is just stress. Right, so the body doesn't differentiate between nutritional stress, sleep stress, psychological stress, training stress, work stress, financial stress, stress with the fight you just have with your wife, or you got a 9-year-old that's lippy or something like that, or whatever. It's
just stress.
It's just stress. So what happens is your stress is building up, and then people think that I've got to go hard.
Right.
They've had a hard day at work, it's been crappy, whatever. And the last thing they really need is to throw a huge, and males are the worst with this, though it's not just, females do it too.
Yeah, for sure.
But then they go and I'm going to take it out on myself.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, you need to go do some yoga or breathing or go really easy versus hurting yourself, because that's where we start seeing soft tissue injuries, or, we get chronic fatigue or
stress
stuff like
fractures
that.
and stuff. And
all that stuff happens. And a lot of times you just got to go, hey, we can get high performance. Or even, it depends where you are in life. For me anymore, it's like, hey, I'm competitive. I want to perform to a certain level.
Sure.
But for me now, it's more like, hey, what can I extract from life?
Yeah. Okay.
What are the events or challenges or time with my kids or my wife that I can do that, or friends where I can go and really have that fun. But you got to put it's this mix to kind of make it white. Like, I don't understand like how I see people suffering all the time. Like, we live in the most amazing environment.
Yeah, it's pretty rad here.
We're super lucky. Like, summer, spring, summer, fall, we get to ride mountain bikes or run in the mountains or do these cool adventures. Like, it's on tap for whatever you kind of sport you want to play here. But people just are needlessly suffering because they haven't done any work, and it's going to impact the enjoyment that you can extract out of that. But coming into our season now, if you're not fit, I look at it as like I say this all the time to my athletes in endurance sports, whether it's ultra running or Ironman triathlon or whatever it is, or people doing gravel races now because it's the thing, and
the gravel bikes.
Yeah, it's rad.
Nerds.
It's good fun.
I'm just joking.
But the adventures.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk the people going up out into the spearhead, or even just quick side country stuff. You head up Blackcomb. Takes a lot of people 40, 50 minutes to skin up.
Yeah.
They're taxed.
Yeah.
So now, are you making the best decisions?
I was going to ask you that. Yeah. Right.
Are you mentally making the best decisions to keep you and your buddies safe?
Right.
So if you've got duress,
sure,
the less fit you are, the higher the duress.
Yeah.
Where's the form go?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when your body's taxed, you just like your brain gets tired, and then you're like your decision making process changes. I think that's like pretty standard, but it's hard because I think people just I'm guilty of it too. You try to like make up for maybe being lazy one day, so you try to go harder to fix it. Or like, I have a lot of friends who are just machines. So for me to keep up, I'm like, man, I'm dying here, right? So, and everyone's pretty fast. And I mean, there's a lot of people in this town who are, I've said it before, I think it's a weird term, but off the couch fit, and they can just go and do, like, they can get out there and go.
You can't use this town. This town's
it's a really
unicorn.
Different level of, I think most mountain towns probably are that way, right? Like, if
how many Olympic, you can't compare yourself to other people here.
No.
Like, you think you're a good athlete? No.
It's tough, man.
Somebody's going to come and kick your ass pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's true. And I think, like, if you say you're in Banff, there's probably, if you were in the climbing scene there's probably guys who are, that's kind of that scene there. And mountaineering, because it's more kind of severe than it is. The resort's not as, friendly or as like, POW friendly. But yeah, there's a level of fitness that to enjoy things that you need to have. And I mean, it's not to talk anybody up or down at all, but I think this town does set a weird bar. Yeah. These kind of towns for sure. Yeah. And then, but you coming here as an athlete, like, did you feel that? You must have been like, I can hang with the rest of them, right?
I came here as I'd still a triathlete.
Okay, right.
But I was coming here through a time where I was in a real downer.
Okay.
It wasn't a couple years prior to that. I switched on a celiac gene. Okay. That was a not so fun time of complete gut biome wrecking. And then just, I did a few big challenges, some cycle events in the Dolomites. And then I did this huge charity thing that I organized, from Christmas to New Year's Eve, or Boxing Day to New Year's Eve, where we rode up the coast of Australia, but inland. So it made the trip harder, raised money for charity water. But all these things are stresses. And I just tanked my system and went through full adrenal fatigue. So even coming here at the end of 2014, I was kind of still in that, and it was pretty dark and coming out of that. So when I started, ramping back training, I was still a triathlete. So I raced Ironman here in Whistler in 2016, and it wasn't by far my fastest or best result, but what I was stoked on is like I had my strength and resiliency back.
Yeah, cool.
And
you finished it, right? I guess,
yeah. So I did pretty well, but it was nowhere near as well as I had done before. But it's a tough course. It's a great course. And it was more just, hey, yes, I'm strong and fit again. Right. And I've raced enough of them and been to Hawaii a couple of times, won an age group, done all the things. There's a lot of boxes that I ticked where, now I feel like, hey, I don't, I got into ultra running, and that was kind of something else I wanted to do. But now kind of like so many different things. Yeah. And it all plays into each other, right?
Right. Is ultra running like, I feel like it's kind of like a graduation sport, where like you do a lot of these things, and then ultra running becomes like a thing you do like later in your career. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more mainstream now. So it's kind of like, hey, it was Ironman. I mean, it was marathon. It was Ironman. Yeah. Seems like 100. If people have, I know there's, and I coach them lifetimers in Ironman. Right, they're not changing. They're not doing anything
tattoo and stuff. You have an Ironman tattoo?
I do not have an Ironman tattoo.
Okay,
not a fan. Sorry. Do I have friends with them? Not a fan.
Yeah, okay.
It's yeah. Did you get Coca-Cola tattooed on you?
No.
So
no.
I like tattoos, but I actually give one of my buddies here a lot of shit with these one. I'm like, that's why you've always got a calf injury. It's like Ironman tattoo on your calf.
Yeah, I just I'm not making fun. I'm just because it is. I would guess it's a people. Some people just do it the one time they want to finish it. It's like it's a big feat. It's a big challenge to get through for sure. Yeah.
The more you do those things, you can kind of be blasé about it. But it's changed. The whole sport, the whole people, the culture around it, I believe, has changed in the mentality and stuff like that. Kind of needs to go back.
More competitive now, more like
not so competitive. It's just different. I don't know. My wife and I talking about it. It's just different. Like, there's more of a rush, and there's more like rush to achieve this and do that, and not put in the time,
like the stack up kind of results, and then
trying to get there too quickly and not. The body takes time. It takes time to do these things, and I had a big summer this year. Lots of different adventures and challenges because everything got cancelled, and but I was able to back that up, and I think it's not just because it's a long and a good portion of lifetime of building this stuff up. But for me now, it's like, you mentioned, you struggle keeping up with your friends and stuff like that. I have no problem backing it off and going slow, and people are like, oh, and I'm like, it's cool.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to keep up. I'm just like, but
I'd be that person where I could go, hey, there's people that can go way faster than me for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people are like, oh, sorry for slowing it. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Now I can go, and I know, like I've bought into the benefits of true easy, right? And what the just going hard all the time, you blow through your aerobic system, so you're not even getting that really online, and people become anaerobically fit. So it feels like I'm setting PRs, I'm faster, I've got higher watts, I've got this and that, but they can last for a couple of hours, 3 hours. You go put them into something like, hey, shit hits the wall, and you're out there for 9 hours or 10 hours or something, I don't hit the wall. I'm not going to bonk nutritionally anymore.
Right.
I've set up my physiology so I won't. And I've trained it in such a way that, hey, send me longer. I'll get faster as it goes. And then there's that big mental component. But hey, if you've just done hard, short, and fast, when it goes long and you got to keep that form, mentally, it's easy to break down.
It's tough, yeah. But I would guess at some points you do, like you talked about training, and you can train for a long time, so look at the results. But there must be a benefit to intermittently throwing in, the harder stressors, the training stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. But it's have you earned the right to do that?
Right. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah.
So have you with these big red meat computers, right? So most of our, yes, we're individual. So there's going to be differences in, muscle fiber makeup and type and how much you have of one or other or whatever. But we can't all become sprinters, but we can all become endurance athletes, right? Okay, so we can, make that muscle fiber change by doing the right stuff. Right. So it's what we're actually on my podcast. My wife and I talked this a couple of weeks ago. It's called ADS, aerobic deficiency syndrome.
Okay.
Right. People are training too hard all the time, so they're anaerobically fit, but they're aerobically unfit. Okay. So that doesn't just hurt like fitness in terms of how long you can go for, it hurts health as well. Right. So you're much healthier slowing down. Like, I'm 43 now. Most males above 40 have a huge benefit of walking. Walking is amazing.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
People are like, I can't walk. It's boring. Get a dog. Yeah. Right? Even though my dog likes to run, but I can run forever with my dog. But walking is great for you. It's an amazing health benefit. But we're rushing through life so quick that people don't want to do it.
Right.
But slowing down allows you to go very fast. So this year I haven't done, until recently, I haven't done any efforts. Like running, I actually took off. I run the co-run Rerun Whistler here. Okay, yeah. Trail run group, and obviously with COVID that got axed. First time in 3 years that we'd missed stuff.
Well, yeah.
Missed the Tuesday night run.
And you didn't. That's right. So you couldn't just. I guess because it's run by Lululemon, so you couldn't do it, or is it like an independent?
Well, it's run by us, but Lululemon supports us. Okay. So you don't want to. And
group of people
early on, people like, and even though again we're not running as a group, unfortunately, but. That was you do that thing until when that stopped, my whole running stopped, and I haven't stopped running. Like I just,
you haven't run since.
I didn't run at the start, like from March, and I hadn't run that much or done any efforts since the previous year. Right. Like I went through like September last year. Right. I dislocated, fractured my shoulder in the bike park.
Sick.
So that was in September. So that was a absolute prick of an injury.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot from snowboarding, broken backs and other things. And this was the worst by far. Right. And so getting into spring, it was all about, I'm just going to mountain bike. I really got after it with my son and stuff like that. And, blah, blah, blah. And then my dog, my trusty dog, he's been banned from double black runs now. He cut me off on a corner, one of the first shoots in Gargamel, and made me go over OTB and smoke a tree, and I separated my other shoulder.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
So I was like, ugh. So that was like, all right, guess what? I'm back running again. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? And that's where I put my little run Everesting up the Ascent Trail here on the cards.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that because I think that's pretty cool. But I want to ask you just a quick question. So when you're like, since all the events you normally train for, whatever events you do still, you have that does put a goal ahead of you to get to that, right? If you're training for an event.
Yep.
So without that now, the past little while, you did the Ascent run, but like, and you said you didn't run for a bit there because COVID, I guess, but does your motivation change to keep at a certain level when there's no
absolutely
goal to race?
I did have a goal like April. I was meant to run a 100-kilometer race in California called Canyons 100 because I'm still, one of my ultra running goals is to race the Western States 100.
Right.
Which is one of the oldest 100 milers in California. Okay. Another local guy, Peter Armistead, and I ran Rio de Lago, which is on part of the Western States 100 miler a couple of years ago.
Okay. 100 miles, it's like 120 kilometers, or
160
kilometers, yeah. Damn.
Big one.
All right. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. And, this one is one of those famous ones. It was actually a horse race first. It still is a horse race. And one of the guys' horses, the story goes, went lame. So he ran and he actually beat all the horses. And then, then it became this ultra run. Now it's got so popular that, and because it runs through a protected area, they can only, it's less than 300 athletes or something, less
capped,
than that. Capped. So there's a lottery system. And each year you're in the lottery. So you've got to race like they have a bunch of races that you can do, and it's either 100K or 100 mile.
Right.
And that gives you a ticket in the lottery. So each year you're in the lottery,
right,
you can you double your chances. So year 1 you get 1 lottery ticket, year 2 you get 2, year 3 you get 4, and it goes up until 7 years. The problem is, over the last couple of years, like I think there was like 3,000. The first year I was in it, there's like 3,000 or 4,000 spots in lottery tickets.
Right.
The year after it was 5,500. Then it was like 6. So now, like, if you had been in the lottery 7 times, 68 tickets or something like that, you're pretty much guaranteed a shot in the next year's race. But now, no.
Because everyone's got those results. So you're in this like...
Yeah, it's just more people coming in. So more people coming into the lottery for the first time and then doing it. So that I choose a race now. For me, I look at it and, I've got a couple of, 10th and 11th places and top 10 places in ultras. And, I'm at that age where it works really well and I'm mentally strong when it matters in the back end and I can still run really fast. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, you know what? There's a compromise. Right. I'd have to put so much effort into it to get, and who cares? Right now I'd rather bike with my son or go out with my friends and do that stuff and have that as a priority. So now I choose my races and I choose them early so I can run through winter and do that and still ski with my kid and do the things I want to do. Cool. And then when it comes to, so I could run an April race, I signed up for it again in the hopes that it'll happen.
Outside,
and, and then I've got spring, summer, I can go mountain bike with him and do all that fun stuff and do other things. But
that's cool.
It's a good goal.
Yeah.
But definitely when COVID hit, like it deflated a lot of things. And that's why, I just didn't run. I just put it into something else. But funnily enough, I didn't lose any run fitness.
Yeah, because I think people just put more things into perspective. Like I think their goals changed and they were more okay with just being a bit more stationary and just being content with what they've got. And you get more time with your kid, but that still motivates you to be in shape and do things almost maybe more because it's like a life event and it's part of you in front of you doing this stuff. But I did want to ask you too that Everesting. Yeah. So that wasn't that long ago, and it was. I get what it means.
I think I gave myself a 5-week period to plan for it.
Okay, right.
Which is very short.
Sure.
It's Everesting, if people don't know. It actually started by a guy in Australia for cycling. Oh, okay. So you choose the one. It was originally road cycling, so you go up and down the one hill. So I met him in a specialized van in Australia, doing a product launch for them. Yeah. Back in 2014, and we were chatting around, and he was mentioning it. And I'm like, oh, that sounds my kind of jam.
Yeah, cool.
I want to do that. So you choose a hill. You got to go up and down the same hill. You can't sleep. You keep going until you've reached the height of Everest. Right. So I think it was George Mallory used it as a training protocol to actually climb Everest.
Okay, that makes sense.
Out of Victoria. So that's where it started. Now it's a huge thing in the world, and now there's Run Everest things added to it. People are doing double Everestings. Sure. There's gravel, mountain biking, and stuff like that. So I came here I came out of that adrenal fatigue stuff, and I was driving back from Vernon, or Silver Star through the winter and came back the Duffy way.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I'd come down Duffy Lake Road.
Yeah.
We're driving down it, and I'm like, I found my road.
Well, you did it there.
So I did my first cycling Everesting, or my one and only cycling Everesting. I've done it to this day.
Wow.
I did it on the Duffy Lake Road. So
how many laps? I mean, how?
That was 8.6. So some people do, like, I think there's people that, local pro Xterra triathlete here did Cadenwood.
Yeah, right. That must have been a ton of laps.
That was, I think he was 75 laps somewhere. For me, it was like, hey, that's way too many.
Yeah, right.
But I was always like, hey, I want a short. And then when they did the Ascent Trail, so I had this pegged 2 seasons ago, or before they put in the gondola.
Right. So if anybody doesn't know, sorry, we're in Whistler, but the Ascent Trail is a trail that goes from the valley to the peak of Blackcomb, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Blackcomb Mountain. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
So it's just over 6 kilometers. It's a 1,500 a vert or something like that.
Wow, yeah. Well, I think peak of Blackcomb's like 2,200. So whatever.
Yeah,
where's the trail go to the right?
Anyway, I had to do like 7.6 laps on that. So
up and down. So that's one lap. Yeah.
Well, see, so cycling Everesting, you have to go up and down the same route. We're trying to get the mountain biking changed because it doesn't make sense to mountain bike up and down. That's just ridiculous.
So straight, yeah.
So the run, they put in a rule which I'm not stoked. Like I was like, no, they're never going to do that. Where you can get mechanized down.
Oh wow!
So I could have used the gondola to go down.
Right.
And made it a lot shorter day.
Right.
Or if you had a quad bike or you had a car drive you back down, whatever.
It's kind of cheating.
No way.
Now. It's
like
kind of cheating.
I think it's cheating. Like it just takes away from that. Yeah. The hardest part is actually the down.
Your knees get worked, man. Every time you go downhill.
It's uphills are always tough.
Yeah.
Running.
Yeah.
Downhills are easy until they're impossible.
Right.
Unless you've trained them.
Right. Okay.
So so the idea is accumulating 8,848 meters. So that was up and down, and I started it. When I started with a buddy about 7:38 p.m.
Right.
And went through to the next afternoon, and so it was
how
about
long,
20 hours.
You have 24 hours to do. Is there a time?
No, there's not a time cutoff. You just can't sleep.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
I keep swearing, but that sounds crazy.
You can't sleep, and it was interesting because we could talk about what I did a couple of days ago, but it was funny because I'd done some training on there. I did this did my shoulder, then I started running. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this Everesting. It's now because I was going to do it the year before, dislocated my shoulder. Yeah, I was going to do it the year before that, but they put it in the gondola.
Right.
All right, so couldn't do it. And that I'd actually set up with Whistler Blackcomb to do it.
Oh, cool.
This year with COVID going on, I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I just went and did it.
Yeah.
Parked my vehicle.
That's kind of like what MO you just have with Whistler Blackcomb these days.
Yeah,
just go and do it.
Just go and do it. And so it was pretty rad. I had someone with me the whole time. Like my first Everesting, I did all by myself. Had a guy who used to work at Seven Mesh come out and photograph.
Brian Goldstone.
Brian Goldstone came out
and him,
came and shot. Cool. He came at the 11th hour and shot some photos, which is awesome. Yeah. And then and Ken Chaddock, the ex-president of the cycle club here, came out for a lap with me at the end. But this one for the running had a buddy of mine who's that I've coached for ultra running, and he's a part of Lions Bay Search and Rescue. He came and did the first 4 laps with me. Wow. And which was pretty awesome. I thought he was going to keep going, go through the whole thing. I'm like, hey, it's only 3.5 more laps, but he's like, I'm going to sleep for a bit. He came out for another lap actually. Cool. But that was pretty cool. It was that's
a huge accomplishment to me. I mean, obviously, I don't know if I'll ever do that, but it seemed to be a little bit repetitive. But you're only doing so many laps.
That's repetitive.
Yeah, but I want to ask you. So, have you ever done this? Is it the Barkley where it's like that race where it's or like the one? There's one in New York where you just run around the same block for like 1,000 times. You have like 3 or 4 a certain number of months to finish it.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, have you done
that's different to then there's the Barclay Marathon.
Sure, yeah, which is some old guy.
Yeah,
make some circles and you got to run around.
Yeah, it's a course and
a documentary on Netflix.
You've got there's the Backyard Ultra, which is a 4-mile loop you've got to do under an hour. On the hour you leave until you're the last man or woman standing. Right. So they did a virtual one and they had a couple of people live just for this year. Yeah. But the actual Barkley Marathon, actually Gary Robbins, who runs all the Coast Mountain Run series, he was up there to win it. And there's a good good show called Where Dreams Go to Die. I won't spoil it for people, but yeah, he's been there. I have no interest in doing that. It's a definite, my type of suffering.
Yeah.
But just to get into it and do stuff, actually, a local guy I mentioned before, Peter Armistead, who I ran the Rio with, he's been trying to get into it. There's a secret code to kind of get into the opportunity to even get on the list to get into that.
It seems like, because I've seen the documentary on Netflix, that's all I know. I didn't run or anything, but it just seems like it seems like that Everest thing is kind of like what I was getting at. Is there's a bit of like this quirkiness to it, where it's like these unique type of like races or things that are more than just let's run as far as we can run. It's like kind of like matching something that would be something you would do in real life if you went up Everest. But I guess there aren't many of those things. I guess there's not many of those like unique. Yeah,
I think you just create your own.
You ever done the one that Red Bull 4000 where you run up?
400?
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did that a couple years. Last year or the year before?
Yeah,
a couple of years ago. That thing.
It's tough. I think it seems tough. Who's that? Marion.
Marion. Yeah, he's a good buddy.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of running together and some great adventures together.
Yeah.
We did a good one where I can see it from here. Actually, you can see Mount Phi.
Yeah.
So we ran behind that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we camped up at Brandywine, and they had my truck up there, and then we ran Brandywine, summited that, and then we ran the ridge lines behind and got to behind Mount Phi, and then got our way to Cypress Peak, climbed Cypress Peak, and then came out of the drainage out of there, and then his car was on the Roe Creek one. So that was a big day.
How many Ks is that?
Like, I don't think it's that many. It's like
elevation game.
30K, but it was I think we got back to his car in about 9.5, 10 hours.
Okay.
But then his car wouldn't make it back up to mine, so we had another 4K run after a beer to get back up to ours. It was pretty epic. But he crushed the Red Bull 400. But that thing was like, I did I got a spot through Lululemon, and I think I was third in my qualifying. But it's funny because I was like so far behind, and you just you get to the ski ramp part.
It's steep.
And it's steep, and I just keep, don't give up, just get through there, and people just nearly literally fall off.
Rolling back down.
But, I got over the top, and it was like, felt like I smoked, a whole pack of cigarettes or whatever. And I'm like, I have a 100-miler coming up, so,
chill out.
or whatever was the wham here. I was like, that was where I was like, I'm not giving it all again.
Yeah.
For where I'm not, there's no way I'm going to win it.
That seems like a crazy race. There's also like the 50-miler in Squamish, the Squamish 50.
Yep.
And they had the Chuckanut one.
Chuckanut.
Have you been on that one?
Yep.
You've done it? Oh, okay, cool. What's because there's so many little races around.
There's so many, and these days, there's tons of stuff. But with the year that it's gone, and I was talking about this with my wife prior to this, and a photographer that I work with a bit, that this concept of life is the event, or the event is life.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's all about being in a state of readiness, I guess, where someone could go, "Hey, bud, got this cool idea. You want to come and do it?" And you're like, "Hell yeah!" I had that a whole bunch of years ago here. A buddy who I met in triathlon in Australia way back in the day. He's coming over. He's friends with someone else here that we met, and he's from Canada originally. He's got his family's still in Calgary, and he came out here for some skiing, and then he's like, "Hey, I got an opportunity to climb Rainier.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to come do it?" I'm like, "I don't have any of the gear." He's like, "It's all good. Got a friend guide in the shop down there, Whitaker's or whatever, and all the gear's on. Window of opportunities now."
Yeah.
And, taking those windows of opportunity, that was rad. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. How long is that? How long of a mission is that? Like,
or driving from here.
Wow. Yeah.
But we got there and drove down, slept the night at this staff accommodation for Whitaker's.
Right.
I was like, I'm way too old for this. It was pretty cool. And then got the gear the next morning, got in the truck, drove up to the car park there, and then we hiked up to Camp Muir.
Okay.
And some groups were coming down. It was stormy. It was pretty crappy. We decided, hey, we'll see what happens. And so we got there in late afternoon, ate some food, tried to go to sleep early, get up at midnight, and then have a look. And then it was starry night, and got across that first crevasse field. And now the young guide, who's gone on to do some. I love when people say they're going to do something and go on to do it.
Yeah,
He's been climbing. Him and his buddy just opened up did a first route up in Alaska somewhere just recently.
Okay.
But he got sick across that first crevasse field, and we could see a bunch of lights from some guided people.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's the ropes, here's this stuff. I think you guys are good.
Oh, wow.
Go. In saying that, my buddy had just climbed Charayu,
yep.
so an 8,000 meter,
right.
One of the top ones in the world. So I was confident it was fine. And there's some, the stuff you don't see on the way up.
Sure.
And then you see those massive crevasses on the way down. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the most glaciated in the lower.
I got a buddy buddy's been there a bunch, and he ski toured and done a bunch of it up there, and he's like, yeah, it's huge terrain.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, but we got up and down. We weren't going for anything fast,
sure.
But I think it was Camp Muir back to Camp Muir. It was 10 hours.
Oh, that's not bad.
So it wasn't crazy, but but the whole point is you take these opportunities and go, cool, I can do that. I've got the fitness, I've got the strength to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And then you create your own little micro adventures. There's so many on tap here that we can do. And it's fun.
It is cool, and you can kind of keep yourself training. I guess there's when you're just trying to maintain your fitness and stuff. Are you what's a run for you? Like if you did go for a run just to train or just to go and get some exercise, is it 10K, 20K? Are you running
Well, it depends. Right at the moment, because I've put that race back on the calendar, so now I'm kind of putting some structure back in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Throughout the summer, no, it was just I'm going to mountain bike as much as I can because it's just fills me with joy, and especially with my son.
Yeah.
And I'll go out and I did some big ones. We did we couldn't do the four peaks because getting up to it was a bit late in the season with the shoulder. So when I got back, me and a buddy, we had a few buddies come on parts of it, but me and a buddy did the whole thing, and it was we left at 4:30 I think and rode Lord of the Squirrels with the lookout. So we got up there for sunrise, which is epic.
Yeah, I never got up for sunrise, but it's cool up there.
And then came down, rode to Alpine Cafe, got some food, went up, did Zeniki Gargamel, came out of that, got some more food at Alpine Cafe, rode across the Blackcomb, and then did Dark Crystal to finish off the day. So
cool.
the three peaks. That was super fun.
How many Ks? 50K or something like that?
No, it ended up more. It was 70 something, I think, and it's about 3,000.
Were you with Julio?
No.
Okay, but Julio, the same thing. It's 70. Yeah. I think
and that was fun. So we'll do 4 next year.
Wow.
But that was a bunch strung together. I did the Everesting and then did that. What else did I do? I did a double lots day. So I went and rode it with my buddy with the lookout.
Lord of the Squirrels.
Lord of the Squirrels. Yeah. And then so we did that with the lookout. Photographer friend that lives in Penticton.
Yeah.
So shot that. He's the main photographer at Seven Mesh now.
Oh, cool.
And then we went and ran it. So we did it as a
bike
run.
No shit.
So
man.
from Stonebridge, bottom of Stonebridge, we went that way all the way back. So that was fun. Then did this other one, and then I went on a bikepacking trip. I chill Codens with my son.
Yeah,
that was pretty awesome for a 9 and an 8-year-old out there. His buddy. Rad. We did big
biking
day.
or
biking.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
sick.
Yeah,
I haven't been out there before, but dude, Lord of the Squirrels to me, it takes me maybe 5.5 hours at probably my fastest pace, maybe 5 hours, but I can't imagine doing it twice in a day.
Yeah.
I mean people do it obviously, but just it's for anybody who doesn't know, it's a mission to get up there for sure.
Yeah, I love it up there.
Yeah,
I've run it so
cool.
many times. I've biked it a lot.
Yeah. So then, we talked about your business before when you had I don't know what you call it, the rollers and stuff like that. But so you do a lot of stuff that's hard on your body. What's your recovery program like? Are you you're into yoga for sure. Is there do you do cryotherapy or cold and hot and stuff? And
no, I
else?
don't. I'm in too small of a place, but there's a bit of forest behind us. I could just work on the principle of do it and then ask for forgiveness. I don't know.
Right. That's the way to go.
And build one of those round Swedish saunas. Yeah. And that'd be pretty cool. What I've been doing is for the last probably 3 months is the Wim Hof Cold Shower.
Oh, yeah.
So, I can get in straight cold, freezing cold. And my big thing is, can I go through winter? Because the water temperature changes out of the tap.
Dude.
It gets, it's like shooting razor blades sometimes.
Yeah.
But... So did that, and he's breathing, which I find
who was
good.
talking about that? Adma was talking about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's good. I need to do more yoga and stuff like that. Because I've deliberately slowed down in things in terms of I do big stuff, but I don't care about the pace or the speed a lot of the time. Not trying to break records or anything. It's like I seem pretty strong and resilient. The injuries that I have had have been acute force trauma of late, not overuse. So, but still roll, do that stuff. But I swear, it's not an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Cold shower a day keeps the doctor away. And it's 2 minutes, man. It's people, with everything going on, health is super important. I think we've become too comfortable. It's people can watch this and look at this. Oh, you're different. You've done this all this time. No, not. I've always been. I love sports. From skating, surfing, playing rugby league, doing this stuff. But I still grew up and drank a lot of piss and did all those things as you do.
Sure,
but as I grew, I still did a lot of that stuff. But then, eat really well. Great nutrition. Drink enough water.
Sparkling water,
and and do the things and just look after your body. But I train. So back to that running. What am I doing? Like I ran today and yesterday, an hour yesterday, an hour and just over an hour and 10.
Right.
And I'll run like I'm not doing anything big right now. I'll run 4 or 5 times a week, and 2 hours 15 will be my longest run.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It'll grow, Alta Lake Road and hilly and stuff. But that 2 hours for people is a really long run.
I run like maybe 5K in half an hour. So I've been running like every other day for the past week and a half or so.
Awesome.
I'm trying to keep it around 6 minutes a kilometer. Just 'cause I'm not trying to run, but I'm trying to run.
So there's a problem already. You're pegging your pace.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm trying to get if I feel like it's 7 or 8 minutes, I've just been dogging it.
Yeah.
But
that's okay.
But the cold shower thing, I do that too. Like I'll just have a regular shower and then turn it cold after.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I can't just hop in cold. That's a psycho move.
That's how I started. I just went, you know what? Take a deep breath. Because there's this PDF. There's a book written called The Flinch.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and it's doing things that you get that flinch. Ooh.
Yeah.
So it was like, can I beat that? Can I combat that?
Right.
And so it was like, okay, and you can. At first, it was like, yeah, okay, that's cold, whatever. And there's varying degrees of cold, right? So you can definitely, half-ass it, or you can really...
You can crank it cold, yeah.
So it took a while. So it'd be like 15, 20 seconds, and then I just consistently keep it at 2 minutes now. So and I got to a point where it was like, bang, cold, first thing in the day. I do some breathing, do that. It sets you up. It's one of those things that we all know. Hey, you feel better when you go and do exercise or whatever. We know we get those endorphins, whatever. Cold is unforgiving. More people die of cold than heat in this world, right? So you're like, so you have this fear of it, but you feel freaking amazing. And after, you don't even have to go 30 seconds, but the vasoconstriction and the dilation, if you go from hot to cold, is great. Yeah. So, you can go and wash and then go from that to cold. And you still, 3 months on, you still have those mental battles where you're like, hey, I've just run in the cold, I'm freezing, it's been wet or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, so you're kind of giving yourself an out, and I still don't take the out. Right. And that's mental toughness.
That's the part. That's the tough part.
That's the development of mental toughness, because you go, if you do it there, you can do it everywhere. And that comes down to that micro decision. Right. We all have millions of decisions we make.
Those are hard for me to get by a lot of the time.
All of us, right? And sometimes it's okay. Yeah. Like you're not always gonna, win the battle, right? Totally. And sometimes it's like, and then you just got to go. Remember how good it makes you feel. So just deal with that initial uncomfortableness, and if you breathe through it, you're like, oh, sometimes I got to keep turning it down to ridiculousness, right? Because it's like, it feels like it's warming up.
You can't jump into it. I feel like for the cold thing though, it's most people's experience with cold and cold water is when it's an accident and they're in danger. Yeah. So like your mental state is like, if I'm in the cold, it's a fight or flight, whatever I say. Yeah, I'll mumble through that. But that's why I feel like that's what my part of me thinks, that it's the fear of that. That's why I go into the hot first, and I just a cold. I'll do it every time. I tell you, like, a few times a week, but again, you just go, I won't do it today. It's fine. And it's just that switch. It only takes 2 seconds to go turn it cold, go, deal with it and get out.
Yeah.
But I think that shiveriness, and that I'm assuming it, maybe there's part of that, like, instinctual fear that humans had, that when you're in cold water, it's danger. We're told it's dangerous. Even if you're in your shower, it's like, it feels like it's just
it's because the life it's become
easy.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
It's become easy. And I think we need to move away from that and stretch ourselves outside of that to have a little bit of discomfort that allows you to be healthier, right? And perspective and get more out of life. And, you do these things, and it's, do it for 30 seconds. Like, you do it for a few weeks for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I know I think they've just changed it for free, but over a lot of the COVID period, Wim Hof had it on his app for free, so you could track it. You could set like intermediate, whatever. But it's crazy. Like, I hadn't been tracking it, and I decided to track it for 21 days, and you do the thing. And if you get through the 3 weeks, you don't even have to do 7 days in a row. Like, you do 5 days in that whole week, and it still kind of accumulates. Yeah. And it was like only 3% of the people that actually signed onto the app and started, only got to the 4 weeks through.
It's fucking cold.
but so my wife, who was like, no fucking way.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
no way. Yeah. Anyway,
it's a novelty to do a couple times.
No way.
Yeah.
Guess who's got into it?
Right.
Just because she, it's just that age-old thing. I can't say it. She read some stuff.
Yeah.
She read. There's a good book. Is it Scott Carney? What Doesn't Kill Us?
Okay.
And he talks about it because he's an investigative journalist who went to he's the guy that's gone and seen the gurus and blown them apart, pulled them apart and debunked them.
Right. Okay.
So his whole goal originally with this was to debunk Wim Hof.
Right. Okay.
And he's become one of the biggest fans and proponents of it, and he writes all about it.
I mean, that Wim Hof's he's everywhere now. He's like really well known. He's like, people are following his thing.
And he's eccentric and crazy, but he's got a heart of gold. And
he seems like
you just got to try it, right? And give it enough time. Yeah. A lot of times we go, did it once, it sucked. It's a
novelty sometimes if you just do it right.
And for me, it's still like, I've done it for 3 months now, and I'll continue doing it because wakes you up, you feel great.
Even if it doesn't have an effect on your system at all, it still hits you in the brain. It gets you going. Like, it does have effect for sure for your system. But
do this as a challenge. Wake up in the morning and turn the tap on and splash cold water in your face.
Yeah, that'll wake you up.
You'll feel great.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll feel amazing.
Yeah.
So the next step then is the cold bath.
Yeah.
Or I want to get one of those feedlot 150 gallon
ice bath?
tubs.
Dude,
I've done ice baths.
Yeah.
Right, but you get that 150 gallon feedlot tank.
Yeah.
Put it outside, fill it with water, put a lid on it for winter, and then get in every day in winter.
And
just do that. And I think if you did that in a Swedish sauna, it'd be gold.
Yeah, like the whole thing of the hot cold. It's like when you go scan out a spot. It's like, you go to the hot cold. It does like it's good for your muscles and your immune system.
Yeah, it's good psychologically. It's good for your mental health, and I think that's some of it. Makes you focus in on everything else goes away.
Yeah, I think people have it's like I was doing this stuff just like I've said before. I'll probably talk about too much, but just like a 30-day challenge of doing burpees every 30 days or doing these things like it's hard to start doing it, but if you just like once you get the first one, like, oh, that was actually pretty good, and you can feel the difference, then it's the next one's a bit easier. But if you don't do the next one, it gets harder to get to the next one. So you got to kind of keep a bit of momentum going, not to torture yourself. But I find that if I don't start something again, or I've only been doing it for maybe like 3 or 4 months now, I've been doing these kind of things, but I feel like if I didn't get the next one going right away and I gave it a week, I'd be like, I'll get it in a couple of days. And it's like, but those kind of challenges, the gamification of it all, that's an old school term now, but it seems like that's what keeps more people motivated than ever.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I think the double-edged sword is it makes people go too hard all the time.
Yeah, and it blows them out.
And it blows them out. And it's like, turtle, hair, who's going to get there at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And what's it about?
Yeah.
Like, the motivation is, again, comes back to that, the real event is life. Like, how do I extract the most I can and have fun? Still, like, I'm 43. I've got a 9.5-year-old that absolutely rips on skis and a mountain bike.
He's fresh human. He's got tons of energy. He's going.
And like, he's ridden He rode Lord of the Squirrels when he was 6.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and we did it this year as a family. Got back out, rode some fun stuff on the way out.
Yeah.
I got to the bottom, like, you even tired? He's like, nope.
I bet.
And it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I want to be 60 and riding with him.
Sure.
Will I be able to keep up? Hell no, but will we be able to go and have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, and starting the new hobby this last week or so, is something that I can teach him as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was some suffering.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Like, I think maybe like an hour or so here, but let's. I'm stoked to talk about that for sure, because it's not like a big switch, but it is an unexpected thought of what endurance is. When you think about it, you're like, oh, you just go out. You're talking about your hunting, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah. So it feels like it's you just go with the gun, you walk, but like. If you're enduring a full day, I mean, you can explain it, but it just seems like it's hard to associate it with exercise and endurance when you think about hunting, because the idea of people hunting is just walking around with a gun.
Yeah. But it's, we're here, live in an amazing environment, and I'm new to it. I still, doing my license and stuff like that. So I was just going out as a mentee with a friend, learning the ropes, doing all this, and it's good, slow walking.
Yeah.
All right. So the day out there is actually not that difficult. But if you've ever watched The Meat Eater, Steve Ranella, I think he was out with one of the episodes. He's out with a friend of his who's a guide, and he asked him, "Why do people fail on the hunts?" And he's like, 2 reasons: fitness, lack of fitness, and lack of training with their weapon, with the rifle. So miss the shot or whatever like that. 2 things well in your control.
Yeah.
Practice at the range, get fit. Right, especially if you're going out with a guide, you're going to spend all that money, and you can't do anything because you lack the fitness. I don't understand them with that, Right. So you use that time. But we went out on Monday. It was my second time out. First time out, we're out in the Mackenzie Basin, up near Jack the Ripper Run, for people that know Pemby pretty well out there. We drove a lot of the way up on that one, so it wasn't. We're out there all day. We saw lots of clues and stuff, but never anything there. But on Monday, we walked from the highway 2 hours up, and then get in there, and then actually we came across another hunter who got a buck, and I was like, stoked and elated for him, but also disappointed and trying not to be pessimistic and trying to be, maybe we both get one. That would be an awesome day. And then we found some tracks, and we kept tracking, and everything plays out, but the hunt is the easy part. Well, you get some luck, right? A lot of luck happens. But my buddy we got a pretty decent sized, 250, 300 pound buck. Yeah, cool. And off trail, very steep terrain. It's an off trail. It's a super fun double black here. One of the most fun trails I've ridden. Yeah. And out of Whistler, because you can't shoot in Whistler, but towards Pemby. Sure. And that's where the real work starts. So we field dress this thing, all learning for me, a lot of respect, and a lot of gratitude, right? You've just ended something's life, but you're going to feed your family with it. There was a whole lot of cool stuff that goes with that, but then we put it all into packs. It's 100 pound, like nearly 100 pound, just under 100 pounds on my pack, and then 110 with my buddy's pack with the rifle. And then getting out of there, and in shin to knee deep snow, scrambling, punching through, trying not, and you got this, you carry 100 pounds on your back.
Well, it sits far away from you, right?
It's still, you're trying to cinch down, but it moves, and you take a step and you spin around, you fall, you get up from a deep squat of 100 pounds on your back each time. And we had about 1,600 meters of trail to go. I don't know the exact vert drop. Sure. That took just under 3 hours to get out after, doing the field dressing, which was another couple 2-3 hours.
That's so hard to
do. So there's a lot of work, and endurance. You've got to be fit. Right. So you're gonna suffer with that much weight. So it wasn't the suffering. All those single leg squats that you do, work, right? Right. Yeah. All this stuff, definitely the core work you do helps. Getting out of there, but the mental, there's the physical fitness, and then the mental fitness that you're like, I've got this. I'm confident we're going to get out. Doesn't matter that it's dark. We're going to get out. And then, you're getting closer and closer. And then the extra work starts the next day where you do the butchering and stuff like that. There's a big process, but that having that fitness allows that opportunity, which there's so much appreciation across the board for it all. And it's something I thought I'd never do.
Right.
I've had, a buddy of mine jokes, he's like, so you come here, you grow a beard, you are really Canadian now.
Yeah, right. Just fitting right in. It does seem like, the base fitness is there. And then just the adrenaline of, you see the buck and adrenaline, just like getting a shot. And just as your first time too, you don't know how, you're just not calm enough to even just retain the energy. Cause you're just like, this is all new. And you're still like, even if you're in shape, you're just still stressed because this is new and you're trying to like learn what's going on. And then I think, hiking out with that meat on your back and everything else, it's like, it's an emotional thing that probably drains on you a bit too, even if you're focused on getting out of there and stuff. But
there's so much that goes into it. But again, it's opportunities. And, I feel that my buddy who took me and is mentoring me, I've done the right things. Like I'm interested, I've signed up for the course. I've doing the learning. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to suffer and learn that stuff. So dependable, right? Yeah. Be dependable. So it's like, hey, I know that another buddy who's like, hey, I want to do this. Yeah, let's go that. Or I'm going to take someone in, another person that you've had on this podcast, Guy Fattel.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So he came to Run Club and met him and chatting, and he was like, I never want to race, but I'd love to do a trail marathon. Sure. So I coached him up and we went around, Lord of the Squirrels, and we did all that and had to run some extra out there. And then he got into, hey, this is cool and fun like that. But he did these things. But, he had some fitness because he's a freaking great photographer. Well, he's out there ski touring.
Ex-military guy too.
He's got the mental capacity. And but that was fun. So, when we've had some other fun photography adventures or just fun stuff to get out and do. So, you can have these people that you can either bring up to that level that are keen and interested and will do the work. And others, hey, like Marianne Treger, if I wanted to go and do some suffering, he'll be up for it, and vice versa. So
I think it's cool because, I'm not a big runner guy, but being able to run in these kind of environments, if you live in the city, it'd be hard to be motivated to run a lot because you're just doing it for fitness rather than there's less experience maybe. I'm not trying to knock being in the city, obviously, but like, when you get out there, even ski touring and stuff, and I'm on mountain bike stuff too, you get out there, it's just a cool place to be. Yeah. So whether you're out there on your feet, you're on wheels, or on your skis, whatever it is, there's a bit of motivation to get out there because you could see sunrises and cool spots and stuff. And it does help that the setting is a big portion of the motivation to do it.
Yeah. Well, you think, go back to riding up into the Mystic for the Lord of the Squirrels for that trail. Yeah. It's a sufferfest.
It's a mission, yeah.
But once you get to that first viewpoint when you see Black Tusk and you see Daisy Lake, awesome. And then you get to the next part and it opens up, you're in the Alpine, there's a second wind.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you've got that more climbing to do to get up there, which people forget about. And
I hate it all the time. Once you go past the wooden boardwalk and then you're like, hey, I still got a zigzag. You're like, oh yeah.
It's a suffer that climb, right? So,
for sure.
But you get this extra, wow, this is awesome.
You get the feeling of nature hitting you in the face and the eyes. You're like, oh, now, because you're not just in the trees
second
anymore.
Wind.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. That kind of stuff. I think the setting does help a ton to motivate you for sure. And just going running, exploring new places, and biking. Like people, that's why people love to travel and ski and stuff because they're in nature when they go to these places.
Yeah. And it's again opportunities. Like how many people, unfortunately, never get to experience this, and it's like. Oh, wow. And I look at it now, it's like, hey, I can learn to hunt and do this and feed the family, but it's something else that I can eventually do. My son's super interested in and, I can do that and pass on another skill set. And, myself personally, there was no way I was ever going to hunt. And then, learning more about it and how much hunters are into conservation and looking after stuff and making sure everything...
they're not just six shooters just shooting stuff. There's a full process behind it. Yeah. And to actually get your license, it's a lot of work and a lot of cross checks and a lot of things to get that rifle license and stuff like that. But you see those people that respect it so much more. And the buddy who's mentoring me, he actually put me onto a book that's based in the Chilcotins way back in the day, early days, early 1900s.
This is before I think vehicles were even like they eventually got a vehicle as one of those first Land Rovers or something like that. But everything was like, hey, we want to go to the post office. It's a 2 or 3 day trip with horse and cart, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
And do it at the right time before the snows come and whatever. It's called 3 Against the Wilderness. I recommend if anyone loves reading, that book is.
I'm gonna check it out.
But that book was kind of like got me thinking is like, because they lived off the land, they'd set traps and do all this stuff and hunt, and it was 3 of them, and wife and husband and son, and it was just like, I don't know if I can go through life and not experience fully where our food comes from. As we talked about pre-show, hey, we can buy it from, and we buy our beef from
grass-fed Creek, beef or something.
It comes from
Twin Rivers, whatever it's called,
or Pamby. But you don't have that same connection.
Sure, yeah.
And to have that connection is something special, and it's not going to be for everyone, right?
No.
I even had that question like, hey, when you're first field dressing this thing, is my stomach going to be able to handle that?
Dude, I mean, yeah.
It's a big thing, and you're like, and just watching my buddy and how emotional and thankful he was, it wasn't like this rah, I've just done this. And you watch some of these, and none of them are like that, you know, or very few probably are like that. They're all like, hey, thank you, and then do what they need to do.
Because I don't do it, but I mean, I realize I can guess, I guess, like what the connection is to it, because you just ended its life to sustain yours, and it's like, it wasn't like it was easy. You didn't just rock up in a truck and do it. Like, the effort's there, and I think that's more sustainable than, I mean, we could get into this whole idea of what's sustainable. I'm not going to, because I don't know enough about it, and I'll get roasted for some stuff. But I think that's like an experience that's it's a life experience. Like, it's like a mental, like, learning, and just like an emotional experience, and learning, not just the physicalness of going out and bringing food home. There's like a connection to it. I think it's cool. I'd like to try it someday. Do I need to get a license? And it's a bit of a process. So how committed to it do you have to be to get the process done? Well, you have to be committed to it to wait 3 months, whatever it is, to get your license. I don't know how.
Well, it's even you got to go, and you can't even look at the document, because I downloaded the form, do all that. Wow, there's a lot of checks here, especially if you've got like, you've divorced and have a partner. You've got to get that partner, that ex.
Oh, really?
To sign off. So there's a lot of stuff.
Because people are fucking crazy. That's why.
Yeah. So you got it. There's a whole lot of stuff. But then you got to go do what you called your PAL, possession acquisition license. Yeah. And you can do your RPAL at the same time, which is restricted possession acquisition license. So you can do that, and then you do that, and then you pass that, and then you put in the document to the RCMP, whatever, and then that just sits there. That's got to sit there for a month before they even touch it.
The background check thing, right?
And then, even before they touch it, it sits there, whatever they process, it sits there for a month, and then it's going to take an extra few months after that for you to get it. And then to hunt, you got to do your core.
Okay.
The hunting stuff, which you can do. I'm doing that online. And then we're going to do the test after this.
I guess a lot of things with COVID have changed because it's a lot of stuff online.
So, it's a long process, and you got to be committed to it. And then obviously there's the financial aspect as well. You can go, hey, we just got $2,000 to $3,000 worth of meat. That's a significant amount of meat. And
I think that's they do that on purpose to deter you from just going and getting a gun. Obviously, I mean, at the time of doing it, you got to be committed to it. Yeah. But then you get the meat, and now you have a year's freezer full or more, depending how much you eat it.
Yeah. So it's a process. Yeah. I just thought it was one of those, it's where we live now and what we do, and a life skill that and it's not for everyone, for sure, and that's okay. Yeah. But it was one of those things that's like, for me, it just felt like, I've looked at things change over the time from fully competitive in these sports or whatever to, I'm still going to go and train and do these things. Right. And work on some areas that I'd call weaknesses, and then see what that brings. And I came here with a cross country mountain bike. I had done nothing wrong as bike for Whistler.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't know. It's like the innocence, right? Yeah.
So, and then you go, that's after you get your ass handed to you too many times. It's like, and I was looking at trails like, how do you ride that? No freaking way. But then you get an enduro bike and you're like, woohoo, this is super fun. And but again, it's just like, hey, have that. We live in such a rad place,
Yeah.
it'd be kind of a waste to waste the opportunities that are there.
Yeah.
If you don't have, and I don't mean you don't have to be David
Goggins. Right. Yeah.
And you don't have to go out
Stay
and even I look at it and it'd be like that driven before, or Jocko up at 4:30 every morning,
the watch photo every day,
and freaking get after it, and discipline does equal freedom.
Sure.
Definitely agree with that. But I don't know if we have to be so, those guys are military background.
Yeah.
Their brain thinks in that way, and that is how they are.
And that's how they've seen success.
Right?
So they're going
to put that across to every civilian.
No, it's not a cookie. Nothing that fits everybody. People are different.
So I don't think you have to. And they say you could look at it like, but you're this, and you're like, well, you don't have to be that.
And don't compare. Just do it.
Comparison.
Yeah.
The Thoreau, thief of joy, or something.
Yeah, I don't know what the term is. There's some kind of quote
comparison
out there.
is a thief of joy, and it is. It's so true.
Sure.
And I think we try and make stuff so complex, and the more complex we make it, the harder it is to actually do.
Yeah.
We just got to go back to simplicity and just go, hey, what is it I want to do? All right, we're getting into ski season. We're going to get into ski touring. We're going to get into that. There's a huge, and we're going to see a massive increase this year.
Have you seen that video that Origin put out just recently? They put out this video of like the impact of the spearhead traverse, and how many people go, the lines of people and stuff going up there. And I mean, I knew about it, but it's just funny to see like the visuals of it and how much it is.
I think, well, even not even to that, like that could be a good thing to get out.
Sure.
I think just looking at Blackcomb on any given good weekend, getting out, it's crazy. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's only time before a solid accident happens. And especially on Decker, it could be quite scary. But it's like, hey, be prepared. So have the fitness to be prepared, but then have the training and spend the time. Yeah. Like, do we do enough beacon training? Do we do enough of this? Like, are you prepared? Are you prepared when shit hits the fan? Yeah,
like I've seen some friends of mine who are pro athletes, and I've seen them on Instagram. They do their own like beacon tests and do their own training once in a while, which is pretty cool. Because when I started doing this, it wasn't people. We would just go and kind of go out and do it. But it's cool to see some proliferation of people doing like even just like pro athletes people look up to. They're doing their own little beacon training stuff on their Instagram account to show people to show you how to keep up with it.
Well, right? I think everyone needs to go and do their level 1.
Sure. Yeah.
But the problem I see with the level 1 is that some information becomes dangerous.
Yeah, that's what they say in the level 1 course. They say you know enough to be dangerous now.
Yeah. So you got to do number 2.
Yeah.
And get some experience, have some experience, and I think where do we see accidents? Communication.
People are shy to ask. They don't want to sound dumb.
Yeah, and sound dumb. Right, and I say to all my athletes,
sound dumb all the time.
I say to all my athletes, the stupidest question is the one that's never asked.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, so everyone started somewhere.
Yeah,
and we all. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Holy hell, no way! I better, got to ask questions and do this, and why would we do this and do that? And I've had that, cowboy shotgun approach in the process, and you get away. And that's the problem, because 90% of the time in the backcountry you get away with it.
Yeah.
So you're building this ideal that you were safe.
Sure.
Where you could have just got lucky and most likely you got lucky more than you didn't.
Yeah.
And it's only that one time. And I've been in a slide. It's scary as fuck. And you come out of it and you're like, okay, I don't want to experience that again.
Yeah. I think a lot. I mean, I've never been in a slide before, but yeah. I mean, I have lots of friends that go out and they do all the time, and a lot of people are really well educated. It is cool to see people are treating it more seriously, but there's just the mass of people. I think it's the people joining is outpacing the people that are learning.
Yeah,
and it's not that somebody's fault. It's just like people just don't know they don't know sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's the biggest growth in winter sports. Yeah. Actually, I was speaking to a guy at Solomon recently, and I said, guarantee it's going to be like mountain bikes, right? Or the backcountry stuff's going to sell out. He's like, yeah, we're on that pathway. But what's actually sold out already more was cross-country ski stuff, which is interesting. So it's all gone, and now people are, gunning towards it, which is fine, because we want to be out there. Like, you can't be an arsehole and say, don't go out there.
No.
We're all out there for a reason, and it's beautiful, and it's stunning. It's just, there's no rush.
Yeah.
Take your time. Yeah. Enjoy it. It's the backcountry is a special place. Yeah. Respect it. Mother Nature doesn't give a damn how much preparation you've done.
No,
whatever.
She's just out there living her life.
Yeah. So but take the time and do it, and you see a lot of rushing at the moment. Like everyone's got, I think in hunting they call it buck fever in the snow. You're like, people are just getting after it already. And you're like, the snowpack is really. Right thanks now, for the intel, but
it's good. It's good relative to what time of season it is. But that's a story that needs to be told more often as far as like the learning of being in the background. I'm no expert. I've only taken my level 1, and I definitely go with friends who know what they're doing, and I don't go that often really. But it's probably worse I don't go that often. But there is a responsibility you have to take for yourself. It's like, you don't jump in the water if you can't swim, because you got to learn how to swim.
I think, ego can be good, but we've got to drop a lot of it and just ask questions and be okay with it. We're all fallible. It's like, ask and maybe we don't die today.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I want to ask you, I'm totally thinking a different direction here because I want to ask you earlier on about nutrition. When you talked about how you're hunting and stuff, and I was curious if you ever had a time where you were a vegetarian or vegan, or how much meat plays a role in your diet and recovery and stuff.
For sure, I did vegan for nearly a year.
Okay.
So I'm celiac. Found out I was celiac.
So what does that mean again?
So I can't eat gluten. It makes me horribly sick. So autoimmune. So I had the gene, never knew it, but that gene got switched on probably through a perfect storm of shit. When I was about 8 years ago now. And so I had a whole time of fixing gut biome, and nutrition's always been an interest to me.
Sure. You've been an athlete.
I've done a whole lot of stuff, and it really became an interest when we got into triathlon. And then first event, doing this carb loading and feeling like I was going to throw up, but like, you shouldn't feel like, how can I perform when I'm going to feel like this, like a couple of hours before? This is ridiculous. So that kind of made me question, like, hang on, this doesn't make sense. If training has gone down in taper, but now we're ramping food up, the body, it needs to do something with those excess calories, right? And we've got, as we can see in our environment, an excess ability to just store fat. Right. So we can either excrete some of that extra carbohydrate, we can use some of it, but because our training is really low, then we're going to put it on as the body's got to store it somehow. Right. So it's going to store it it's going to turn it to fat and store it that way. So I started questioning that and did a lot of extra research and then study and different things in there. And ebb and flow, went through that normal endurance athlete, carbs are king, whatever. Sure. Then went into, became celiac, and I had to be super careful. Still do, gluten, and then went into like this fat adaptation. Went too far, like most people. Pendulum swings too far, and you go way too far outside. Full keto, whatever. And I definitely think that played a role with other stresses in life. So that led to me going through adrenal fatigue and stuff like that. Got out of that, eating to what we do. Actually, my wife and I are going to do a podcast on nutrition this week.
Sweet, nice.
I'll listen to it. And try to be a bit more balanced, because and go back to simplicity, not complex. Right. But leading up to my first, I have I've coached a bunch of vegan athletes. We've got the celebrity, your Rich Rolls and Brendan Fraser, and a whole bunch of guys in different things, and you can go on Netflix to your heart's content and see all that stuff and have a look at it. And I decided, I had a whole bunch of vegan athletes, and I'm like, why are some of them non-resilient? Right. Is it they're eating a shitty vegan way? Yeah. Because, people go gluten-free and they eat shit. Right, because the education on that kind of stuff is hard. So it's tough, and it's so... there's so much division and so much, hey, I'm writing a book, so I want it to be a bestseller, so I have to be, stand out from the crowd or whatever. But, I was questioning why I was seeing this. So I actually went vegan for just over 10 months and did all my training for my first 100-miler. My first 100-miler was in the mountains in Wyoming. Okay. And so it was a big one. And you know what? Honestly, I felt great. Felt strong, resilient, everything like that. But there's this honeymoon period for most people, and you're trying to be an athlete like that. feel like, and I have a lot of very smart friends, and looking at bloods and different things and getting some testing. There's a few, like, you know, being celiac, B12 is a tough one.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, but you can't. You have to supplement it usually.
Yeah, and supplementation is, you know, is it as bioavailable as you know, the real thing, and you know, how much vit D are you getting through, and other things, and how much absorption are you getting, and it was just like there was a couple of things where I'm like, am I on that precipice of feeling good, but there, you know,
because over time your body will be depleted in nutrients. So if you're not getting them, it won't notice it right away.
Yeah, and you can see nervous system stuff and some irreversible damage that you see.
Right, okay.
And I've seen some people have some, especially soft tissue injuries, can't get on top of it. You know, I had an athlete that was a 10-year vegan just recently, and not to my doing, he's did it himself, and you know, we're dealing with a year of plantar fasciitis issues, and you know, and working out everything. The guy's diligent on his rolling and doing this and looking at nutrition. Yep, you're eating everything well, doing blah blah blah, and then on his own accord, he's like, hey, I've started adding some fish back in, and then he started adding some meat back in. Yeah. It was like
changed him.
And it was 2 athletes recently, the same thing.
Right.
Funny enough, you've gone from over here, and there was a book called The Carnivore Diet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, stop with the extremism.
Yeah, right. You're on each side.
Right. We actually don't need a ton of meat.
Right.
We need some.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. And you know, people argue and debate that. I believe, and that's fine. And I see resiliency and you know, each to their own. If you want to be that, I'm saying, like, if you want to be vegan, go for it.
And you can do it.
And like, you can do it. It's tough.
Yeah.
Right? You can't look at Rich Roll, and he does it perfectly. Guy earns a lot of money on his podcast and stuff like that, and he can get all the best supplements and things, and lives a very zen life as well now. For most, their life circumstances aren't that way where they can spend that much money on the needed supplements and make sure that everything can, and you've got to be super careful. Like it's a much tougher way of preparation and doing everything needed. So they're trying to go this way. I'm like, guys, settle. Let's be, you know, a bit more balanced here and focus. Get all those nutrients in. Like, you're gonna miss. And interesting enough, that book wasn't even, I think it was maybe released a year ago or something. Right. Probably did pretty well, and all these other stuff. And now he's just come out with, I need to add X, Y, and Z back into my diet for my health. And we've seen that on a lot of YouTube vegan stars of late too, where all of a sudden, hey, I'm doing this, especially females trying to get pregnant, or they've got some health issues going on, and they've added it back in there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if these people maybe not doing it right, it's tougher. Right. So for me, you know, I look at it as like, hey, do I need to, you know, eat meat only? No. Do I need to eat, like, I'm eating? The thing it did was reduced how much we ate. Sure, yeah. Right? So way smaller portion sizes. Yeah. I love fruit and veg, right? So I'm going to get that in there. You know, I love my butter still. Yeah, butter's good, man. It's flavor. You know, I like all that stuff. And I know for me, from going through like super low carb and higher fat, being celiac, I need some of that carbs, like rice or sweet potato or stuff like that, to make me feel resilient. I don't know what it is. It's something to do with my celiac that I can deal with that. But, you know, there's times where, you know, I will fast. And there's times where I'll do my long sessions fasted, won't eat. You know, I have my coffee in the morning and then just go out. What's your long, like, I mean, like 16 hours, do you ever do full days, or do you? I've done, yeah. And I've done a lot of the intermittent stuff as well. I don't do it all the time, right? And I don't fast all the time now. In terms of, when I say fast, it's like, hey, I'll eat it, and we eat early, so it's probably pretty long, because we'll eat at 5:30, 6 o'clock usually at night. Yeah, at night. Yeah, and then I could get up, get our kid to school, go for a run, and then we're eating breakfast at 10. Oh wow, yeah. Right, so they're essentially I've fasted. Yeah. But through that, there's been times, and the thing that I'm still working out is when I go, like, I can do all my long stuff up to like 50K training runs and eat nutrition, have no problem. Get in a race, and with the celiac, I still have some, each one I've still done well and raced well, but I've had areas where I've had to slow down, guts in pieces. My last 100K, I didn't eat for the second 50K. Oh, wow. Nothing. No shit. That's a lot of energy going out. Yeah. and I still was able to race well. So I've had this, don't hit the wall. So I have this huge ability, and I've been able to push it in the back end of the race, which is a big mental component as well. And when I say the back end, not the last few K, like the last 30, 40K and 100 miler or whatever. And, so that time has definitely helped and get maybe a better word, metabolically efficient.
Sure.
So you want to, and this is going back to what we talked about earlier, where people are training high intensity all the time and so they're in that anaerobic pathway, so they're in glycolysis, so you're burning carbs.
Right.
So you've got a limited tank.
Right, you got to eat them, yeah.
So the idea is you have this semi-trailer, right? It's full of fuel at the back, and you've got the gas tank on the front. You burn out, it's like, hey, I've just broken down on the side of the road because I can't access all this fuel. Because I've been training too hard all the time and teaching my body that it's going to predominantly burn that source.
Oh, okay.
So when you go into the lower intensities and easier, you're burning more fat for fuel, and you're teaching your body to spare the glycogen needed.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So, you've probably got a couple of hours of that glycogen at 90 minutes to 2 hours of solid intensity before you run out. And you can bring it in, but it's not as efficient, right? So if you've in these lower intensities, and people that like zone 1 and 2, easy, moderate. I go off intuitive intensity because people have lost the feeling of what their body's telling them.
Sure.
And if you do that, you're burning more fat. As soon as you go into that, like, kind of comfortably uncomfortable, which we kid ourselves as our easy or moderate, where we're bullshitting ourselves and going, hey, it's not. Where, we couldn't string even a short sentence together, but we're training there a lot of the time.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Or maybe you can have a really short sentence, but your breathing is noticeable.
That's me most of the time, yeah.
Right?
Sure,
so now you're burning some fat and more carbohydrate.
Right, okay.
Then you push that little bit. Now you get into that lactate, those real hard efforts that you push and everything. And you burn it, using lactate, but you that carbohydrate process. So you're teaching your body to just rely on that, and that's why people hit the wall.
Okay, right.
That's why they bonk. So it's, hey, you don't need to. If you eat, right? We have all these arguments of this. Oh, you can't do this low fat. High fat, low carb, and we got sold back in the late 70s of cholesterol, and that myth's been blown apart.
Sure, yeah.
Ansel Keys cherry-picked data, and you look at that and you're like, okay, this is where we've got to, and you just have to look at the state of the world and the health that's come off that. So if you're looking at it, you go, you know what? If I ate a diet, no one got overweight by eating lots of apples.
No.
Right?
It's pizza. I eat full pizza in one sitting, so yeah.
So you look at it and you go, if I eat a good amount of veggies, cruciferous veggies, not all you just hate potatoes and starches, but you eat a lot of green leafy veg, you eat a lot of broccoli and zucchini, and different colors and stuff like that. You have a lot of variety of peppers, or capsicums as Aussies like to call them. You got this variety of that, a little bit of meat. You got some fat on there, which makes food. You can only make fat taste good. Food tastes good a few ways.
Right.
Add fat, add salt, or add sugar.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So it's it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're devoid of fat, the food tastes pretty crappy.
Well,
how good does low fat whatever taste? It
tastes like shit. Yeah.
All right.
That's not good.
Like most gluten-free refined shit tastes like cardboard. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah. Totally.
You want to stay away from it. But if you eat this, you lots of a bunch of
well-balanced whole foods diet.
Yeah, but what's well-balanced? People have no freaking idea, right? So eat a lot of fruit. A lot of veg, some fruit. Eat a small portion of protein. Yes, I'm going to be more biased to some flesh protein there. But if you do, and some good fat, like, don't be scared of fat. I think people have got so scared, right? The fear, as we see a lot of fear in the current environment, but people got so scared of fat that they won't use it.
Right.
But you see guys in the Tour de France pouring olive oil. Yeah. Right. They're lean, and yes, they do a lot of exercise, but they need those calories. Yeah. But you've seen people actually get leaner from putting on using that stuff, and that stuff gets used as a efficient fuel source. And careful of oil. Like, oil is. You got your cheap vegetable oils, canola oils. This stuff is insidious to your health.
Yeah, right.
Inflammation. It's just industrialized crap that you don't want to do. And yes, it costs more to have good oil, but what's your health worth, right?
Right, yeah, totally.
Right, so it's, avocado, olive oil, I use grass-fed butter, coconut oil.
Right.
Use those things. Cook in coconut oil, avocado, has a higher heat tolerance.
Yeah, I watched this guy online, he cooks avocado because he's like, it doesn't burn as fast, yeah.
So
it's expensive, holy shit.
It is expensive.
But still.
It's that conundrum, right? I don't like supporting these behemoths that have just increased their net worth while everyone else is hurting. Many people are hurting right now.
For sure.
Like your Walmarts and your Amazons. But unfortunately, I'd like to support some people, but you're looking at the same bottle and it's like, that's $18. I get the same one for $13. When you're budgeting for a family, you got to look at that stuff. But you can do it. And serving size.
Right.
Right. So fat's going to fill you up a bit more.
Yep.
We don't drink enough of this. This is one of your health tips here,
for sure.
right? People are walking around dehydrated. Need to drink more water. Add a little bit of salt in there, like a little bit of sea salt or Himalayan salt.
Yeah,
helps get that for people that are training. Yeah, this gets those minerals, electrolytes into the muscles.
Right.
All right. So if you're just drinking water all the time, it's going to flush out. But add that little bit of electrolyte in there. Yeah. It doesn't need to taste like the swimming pool. Or,
no.
All right.
It doesn't taste gross.
Fully salty. It just needs to. You can hardly taste it, but it's super good for you. So if you're doing that, by large, you're eating a lower carbohydrate, moderate fat.
Yeah. So
we're like lower, higher. Let's use that rather than low and high.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it's lower than normal, and this is higher than normal. Mm-hmm. And you'll find that you're resilient, you're healthy, and you can go longer. Yeah. As an athlete.
It is interesting to watch when you eat, like even just the way I'm trying to be healthier. That's why I'm asking about nutrition right now. But like, just the way I eat, I can just tell if I eat certain foods, I'm not hungry for so much longer after. Yeah. If I eat if I make some like chicken, some rice, and some vegetables, I'm like, I'm not hungry again earlier. But if I eat even just a hamburger, just make a hamburger, even just that, I feel hungrier faster. Just because inherently when you make a hamburger, you put like cheese, you put everything else on it, But it is interesting to feel that that like lack of hunger, or even if you're doing, when I've done fasting before, I feel like you get like mind clarity when you're later on in the fast. Yeah. Because it's like I don't know. I've been reading about this. Like it becomes like an instinctual thing. Your brain switches on to like you're more alert because when you were hungry back in the day, you needed to look for food. Yep. So you become more alert. Yep. Which is kind of interesting. And if you actually pay attention when you don't eat and fast, it does. I've noticed it for sure. I don't. By no means am I the healthiest guy around, but I've noticed those small things for sure.
Yeah. And it's not these huge wholesale changes. You make small changes. Mm-hmm. And build the habits in there and stack them. James Clear's Atomic Habits is good. He talks about this habit stacking and how you change things. It's really hard to go and do something. So you could get up, like I've been doing it recently, rather than, how many of us get up, look at the phone, and you're on social media, which is poisonous, right? Yeah, it just screws your day, right? And we're talking about cold shower. It kind of gets you ready for your day. But, I like to get up early and, I can't just turn the cold shower on, wake up, the rest of the family. So it's like, I'll get up and I'm like, okay, no, I'm not going to touch the phone. So, but the first thing is I'm putting coffee on.
Right. Yeah. I'm a coffee.
But before my coffee, I must drink water.
Yeah.
Or I want to get all those, synapses in the brain firing, get the water on the face, do that. So I do the water, get the coffee, and unfortunately, we can get sucked into negativity in the world at the moment, and I'm definitely guilty of that. And you feel like crap and whatever, and it sets your day in a bad tone, especially if you get there. So I'm like, there's no phone. I drink the water, so that's my first habit. Stacks on the second habit is coffee. Yeah. All right. My third habit is reading for 30 minutes, whether it's professional, personal development stuff. Okay. All right. So I'm reading some stuff where you're like, okay, I can make my life more positive and better.
Sure.
All right. So I'll do that. So there's this habit stacking. I can do that enough. It'll change your life. Yeah. And then I get into I'll do some work before the kid gets up to go to school. And then, hey, I know we drive there, we go run, or we do whatever exercise. If it's not a run day, Mondays, we'll do strength, whatever. And then it's bang. You get in that habit stacking. Are we perfect all the time? No. But it's doing these things. So you're always, if you can attach it to something else, you have a higher likelihood of doing it. Right. So it's like
small wins along the way. Yeah. Add them up, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to, when I get up, instead of grabbing X, I'm gonna grab a piece of fruit.
And so it's that micro thought too to get to kind of like bust.
Yeah, once you're aware of it, now comes the hard part is the choice.
Acting on it, yeah.
And you're responsible for the choice, right? So you know now, hey, I'm aware.
Yeah.
And with awareness comes your first opportunity to change.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that idea just self, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like not commitment, but like, just trying to like commit to it, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but like it's the self motivation to just make that quick change. Yeah. It's tough to do, but I think once you make a few of them, the minute you derail, it's hard to get back on. So it's like hard to not. And
well, that's the thing. I can't remember where I read it. It was like never miss twice. Yeah. And I had that go in my head today. So it's having that once you know that, so you can use that as a tool that helps you. It's like, well, yesterday I missed my cold shower. If I miss it today, then it's easier again to miss it tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So never miss twice.
Yeah.
So then and now I come in and it's cold.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm cold. I want to just get warm. Mm-hmm. Never miss twice. And then you have that.
Yeah.
Because every time you let it go, and this is the same as if someone DNFs a race.
Yeah.
It gets easier every time they do it.
Right.
And then you this, and to justify the excuse. Because we're good at justifying things.
Yeah, and if once the cycle's broken, like it's broken, it's hard to get back on. But yeah, that makes sense. I remember it's twice. Yeah,
get back on the horse.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hey, I think probably a couple hours now. But I definitely
goes quick.
Yeah, it goes by fast, eh? I think it's great. I love doing the podcast. But I'm super excited you came on the show. I want to ask you. So, you have a podcast yourself that you do?
I do.
Yeah, and so tons of people don't watch this, but what's it called? How people find you?
It's now called the Endurance Specific Podcast.
Endurance.
So we I originally am a business called Tri Specific, triathlon specific. But as we come here and opened up to different things, and I got into different endurance sports as well, and now coaching a whole bunch of different types of athletes, from people mountaineers to gravel racing to Ironman athletes, still ultra runners, or people that just want to get out. I got a bunch of guys that just I just want to be fit to get after it and do this. So, the business morphed to endurance specific. Sure.
So what's it called again? Sorry, say it again.
The Endurance Specific Podcast.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So endurancespecific.com, and it'll lead you there.
Okay, cool.
We talk about everything related to endurance. Definitely that stuff. But there's a lot of stuff. Prior to that, if you go back, it was, for 5 years, it was called the Fat Black Podcast. And people will be like, hey, what are you, racist to that? And backstory on that quickly was, just to wrap up, was in Australia, the coffee I always drank was called a long black.
Right.
We know a short black is a little espresso. Yeah. In Australia, it was a long black. So, you're a guess Americano, but, Americano is too weak here. I think it doesn't.
We just follow the French.
Yeah.
For the terms for that stuff.
It wasn't. So that's what it was. And then when I became celiac, I was doing a 10-day, 2,000 kilometer road bike through the Dolomites.
Oh, cool.
60,000 meters of climbing as a Sonk Coles challenge.
Oh my god.
And early celiac, I'm like, there's not going to be. I mean, Italy, the place of pasta and bread, and
you're going to starve.
And I did it. Actually, it's a really good place to be a celiac. But most of the places we stayed at, the breakfast, there was just nothing I could eat. Right. And my South African buddy who I was there with is like, and this is before Bulletproof coffee. Right. So Dave Asprey hadn't come and taken the world by storm with Bulletproof. But he was like, just throw butter in your coffee.
I heard that.
And so I did it and blended it, and I was like, this actually tastes all right. And then I was like, man, I feel good. That ride, 200K day, I started off, and I was like, man, I feel all right. So started, and ever since, years and years now, I have butter in my coffee every morning. And so it was like long black, add fat to it. It's the fat black, and it was all about
cool.
It was more geared towards triathlon and being a better triathlete and stuff like that. So, but I thought as we brought it back after the hiatus, I'm like, it's to more people and open up.
That's good, man. Well, it's great. I think I'm glad you came on. It's good to chat with you and kind of, like I said, I knew you, but didn't really know you that well. I didn't know you had such a depth in athleticism now, and you're competing and stuff. So
yeah, it's fun.
I'm going to probably pick your brain again sometime. But yeah, well, thanks for coming on, man. It's cool. And then can they find Instagram? What's that?
Yeah, Kristian Manietta.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
Christian with a K.
Oh, right. Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks again. It's great. I'm going to sign off here. But anybody listening, thanks for always listening. Whoever listens, thank you for that. And you can subscribe if you want to do.